Have you ever played video games? That was a terrible intro. When I was a little kid, my dad came to the conclusion that as a person who's gonna live in the modern world, I'm gonna need to be interested and good at technology. And he thought to himself, okay, what's the best way to make a kid interested in technology? And so he bought me my own computer so I could play video games in it. Funnily enough, he didn't think that social skills would be a skill that I could need. Growing up a sheltered kid, video games have always been a big part of my life. They've been really how I spent most of my days, and they were one of the things that I have always been really obsessed with. So after I grew up and reached high school, I wanted to find other people who also loved video games like me, except that because of the cultural environment that I was in, there weren't really any other girls who played video games. And that's not because girls don't like games, it was mostly because the parents just assumed that video games are a thing for boys. And I think most of that had to do with the marketing that was around video games at the time. But anyways, there weren't really any other girls who played video games when I was growing up. So in middle school and the early years of high school, I really wanted to, have gamer friends, but I couldn't really connect with them. You know how every time a girl said they liked football, some guy would say, oh, you like football? Name every football player. The same thing happened with video games. Like, I could say I'm a gamer, and if someone didn't ask me if I've played every single video game or not, someone would definitely always ask me if I've beat a Dark Souls game or not. So I went ahead and beat every Dark Souls game, or at least the first 2 games. And they were fine. They were difficult. Can't say that they were my favorite titles. I mostly just played them because I felt like I had to, so that I could get my gamer card. And I did. I actually was finally allowed into the group of the gamers, and that's when I realized that most of them are neo-Nazis. If I had a nickel for every time a Horizon game came out a week before a highly anticipated title was released, I'd have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened 3 fucking times. Horizon Zero Dawn came out a few days before Zelda Breath of the Wild. Horizon Forbidden West came out like a week before Elden Ring, and the DLC came out a few days before Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. At this point, I think they really want themselves to be compared to games that are just better. I loved Horizon Zero Dawn. It was one of my favorite games. I just love bow and arrows in video games, so that was a big plus. There were also robot dinosaurs, and the main character was a redhead. So I was really excited for the sequel, and I was really happy that it was coming out. But then it came out, and I was watching the reviews, and every single review that I saw of the game was just talking about Elden Ring. Everyone was just talking about how excited they are about Elden Ring, and how they can't wait for Elden Ring to release in a week, and how they didn't really give this game a chance because they were waiting for Elden Ring. And every review that came out after that was just comparing Horizon to Elden Ring. And listen, Elden Ring is amazing, but Horizon is not Elden Ring. And not every video game needs to be Elden Ring. And if Horizon Forbidden West came out and it was similar to Elden Ring in its map design, I guess a lot of the people who loved Elden Ring would like it. But anyone who liked the first game, I think, would dislike it because it would have been a completely different game from the first one. And listen, say what you want. Elden Ring is amazing, but not every game needs to be Elden Ring. I truly believe that one of the reasons Elden Ring is such a unique experience and such a breath of fresh air is because not every game is Elden Ring. If that was like the mainstream design philosophy, it wouldn't have felt as fun to play it. I get that the mainstream design philosophy sucks, and like the mainstream open world design philosophy is like basically how Ubisoft designs its open worlds, but I genuinely feel like people will cut Ubisoft some slack while giving every other game that in any way resembles a Ubisoft game so much shit. Listen, when you want to describe badly designed open world, a lot of times we say it's Ubisoftified. It's in the name. So why is it that when Ubisoft releases
Assassin's Creed Valhalla,
people can cut that some slack and people can say that, oh, I experienced Assassin's Creed
Valhalla
as not an Assassin's Creed game and just as a Viking game, as if that's gonna make it any better. That's something that you can say about that, but the same people can't somehow cut a game like Horizon some slack. If you liked Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I don't think it's gonna be that hard for you to enjoy Horizon's story because you obviously don't have high standards. And if you think Assassin's Creed Odyssey had a good world design, say what you will about the amount of campfires in Horizon, at least if I saw 2 different screenshots of the game, I could tell if they were taken at different parts of the map or not. So why is it that if Ubisoft releases fucking Assassin's Creed Valhalla of all games, people can make up excuses for that, but if Horizon is a Ubisoftified game, suddenly it's an unforgivable sin in because there are towers in it, which, by the way, tall necks are fucking majestic and they're just really nice to look at, and like each one of them has their own puzzles and it's really fun. None of them are that difficult, but they're really fun. And sure, I think something that would really help with it was adding an option to choose how many markers you want to see on the map. Haven't checked, maybe they have added that because they've added a lot of other options that people ask for, like disabling the looting animation. You know, Horizon's world is actually a cool thing. It's got cool lore behind it. Each one of the tribes that you see has their own story, their own costumes, their own set of beliefs and rules and traditions. And I'm just saying that after you reach level 20, you don't lose fall damage, and at least climbing has some fun animations, and at least you can run. For a Ubisoftified game, it doesn't resemble Ubisoft's world that much. After like 13 years of playing video games and also going through a phase where I felt like I had to like play certain games to be a gamer. You know, I experienced a time where no video game was really fun for me. I actually experienced that twice. Once it was because I was playing games that I didn't really enjoy, just because I felt like I had to play them. And the second time was when I played Red Dead Redemption 2, and then no game could even compare to it because it's Red Dead Redemption 2. I have also spent a lot of time watching a lot of video game reviews, especially reviews that came out around the same time that the game launched. And I have 3 tips for you to keep enjoying games. Number 1, don't play every single video game that comes out. Video game reviewers, and I don't mean something like IGN, I mean just people who review games on YouTube, have to play a lot of games. Most of those games are shit. I mean, look at the last AAA releases, they have all been shit. And when you have to play all those games for your job, a lot of times you don't get to enjoy it and you don't get to really spend that much time with a game because you have only a week to play this game. I don't know, I don't like binge playing games. I don't like spending 2 straight days on a game and finishing it. I like to give myself a month for any type of game that I'm playing. It took me the entire summer to play Red Dead Redemption 2, and then I spent the entire fall playing Hollow Knight. I like to give games a couple of months. So because of that, finishing video games fast and back to back really doesn't work out for me. And even when talking to my friends who don't necessarily take 2 months to finish a game that they're having fun with, the games that they have the fondest memories of aren't games that they finished within 2 days. They are games that it took them like at least a week or 2 weeks to finish. It was games that they took their time with and they didn't rush through. And that's something that, you know, a lot of video game reviewers don't have the luxury of. As like a casual gamer or as a person who isn't obligated to play every single game that comes out to make money, a lot of times you can do that. Tip number 2, don't play video games on launch. Like, just don't. Even if you're really hyped up for a game, wait at least a week before you start playing the game. I'd say give it at least a month, but if you can't wait a month, wait just 1 week. A lot of video games come out really buggy, which they shouldn't, but they do. And what you can do about it is not pre-order them and play them like a week before they actually release, because you know it's gonna be buggy as fuck. And I tend to play a lot of games later than they released. For example, because I didn't have a PlayStation 4 until PlayStation 5 came out, I didn't play any of the titles that came out on PlayStation 4. So I was really excited to play all of them. I played both Last of Us games, I played God of War, I didn't play Uncharted, and another game that I played was Days Gone. Now, Days Gone was a game that was really poorly optimized. I don't even know if that's something you can say about it. It was buggy as fuck on release. Like, I remember people saying it's shit. Like, so many people gave Days Gone shit that I was just convinced that it's a shitty game. But it was on PlayStation Plus, and I downloaded it, and I played it, and it was really fun. Killing hordes of zombies was really cool, and I also liked that there were kid zombies, and both of those were things that I expected to see in The Last of Us Part 2, but surprisingly, I saw them in Days Gone and not Last of Us. But apparently the game was so buggy on release that it was unplayable. I wouldn't know because I played it years after release, and it was really fun. It was the same case with Horizon. I was really hyped up for Horizon, so I only waited 3 weeks. So I played the game less than a month after its release, and even then I didn't have so many of the issues that people said they had with the game. And that's the thing, when you wait You know, the developers have like a couple of weeks to fix some of the major bugs, so you're not gonna face any of those issues. A lot of reviewers can't do that. They have to release it on the same day as the game comes out. But that also means that right now when I'm watching a lot of reviews of certain video games around the same days that the game launched, a lot of the points that they make in those videos don't stand anymore. For example, one of the main issues that I also had with both Horizon games was that every single time you wanted to loot something, you had to see this loot animation that would stop you in your track and you couldn't walk and do it. And it was fine when it was in Red Dead 2, I could tolerate that, but it's not even that interesting or that detailed in Horizon. I just have to watch Aloy do a squat every single time I want to pick up some fucking medicine berries. But now they've added an option where you can turn that off. You know what game hasn't had any changes ever since I played it like 10 months after its release? Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Tip number 3, as much as I love Donkey's videos and I think they're really fun, I think watching Donkey's reviews of games is kind of like watching YMS reviews of movies. A 7 out of 10 is not a bad score, but if you give Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse a 7 out of 10, I'm just gonna assume that the highest score you could ever give any movie is an 8 out of 10. Like, watching these videos is really fun, but are you really gonna let Anthony Fantano choose your music taste for you? And tip number 4, I know I said there's gonna be 3, but there's 4 now. You don't have to finish a game. If a game sucks and it's boring to you and you're not enjoying it and it's feeling grindy, stop playing it. And I just want to add this, I think it's a lot easier to say that you shouldn't play every video game that comes out when you have the power of hindsight. I got a PlayStation 4 when PlayStation 5 came out. I already knew which games were fun, which games were good, which games I should give a chance to. When all of these games were coming out, it would have been really harder to weed out the goods and the bads. And also, if you like Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Valhalla, and that's your taste, you know, if you like those games or if there's any game that you really enjoyed that a lot of the critics or reviewers didn't like, tell me in the comments and like and subscribe. Bye!